Okay, welcome and good morning to our October 10th, 2022 Board of County Commission meeting, our strategic planning meeting, 9 a.m. It's 9:02. Commissioner Kearns and myself are here. Commissioner French is away on county business. So we will go ahead and get started, and hopefully my voice will stick with us through the course of the morning. So we're going to start off with Kyle.
Good morning. We're here we're great. We lined these two items up for you this morning. So we're going to start with the 6-year Trepidation improvement program and go through the update to that, bringing in that 6th year, and also talking primarily about what to look for next year. And then we'll follow that up with the utility side of the 6-year CIP, so we can kind of look at these all under the same lens, because that's how we do. So I'm got Matt Saracor here, county engineer, who's going to start us off and take us through the first half of today's briefing with the transportation side.
Good morning. Hope everybody had a good weekend. Thank you for the time to brief you today on our 6-year plan and our 23 annual construction program. Next slide, please, Ron. So this first slide is really an overview of our program broken out by type of construction. You can see we break it out by urban versus rural, safety, pathway, bridges, and stormwater. So you can see the bulk of our money, as you might imagine, is going to urban and rural road construction projects, with 13 million going to rural and 8 million going to urban. A lot of that 13 million is the last phase of Bigelow Gulch that we'll get into more in a little bit. Next slide. So this slide is really just to demonstrate where we're getting our funding from. And also, we always like to brag a little bit. On the left there, you can see that for every county dollar we spend, we get $3.33 of other participation, whether it's state or federal. And you can see the bulk of our funding right now is federal and federal pass-through, that 18 million. And this is obviously just the capital project side of our budget. It doesn't include maintenance, which is about half of the road program. And the state, you can see, is 6 million this year in the 2023 program, and then the 2 million from BNSF for the Euclid Road Bridge, and then our county dollars are 11 million next year. Next slide, please. So this is our major construction projects. You can see Bigelow Gulch there at the top of the list. We're, like everybody, I think, a little excited to get the last phase going and get the corridor completed. That'll be a project we've been working on for a very long time. And the other bigger projects, we have West Terrace Stormwater project that's going out right now. They're actually slated to start work on the first phase of that, and next week on Monday, the 17th. That number, yeah, that's the actual construction amount for that phase. Yeah, it's a bit. There's different numbers, and some of them include all the right-of-way dollars and everything else, and that's just strictly the construction number. So you can see the Little Spokane Bridge is also going out next year, along with Brooks Road, Euclid Road Bridge. That one we hope to get going on very soon. We're just working through a lot of the permitting with BNSF. And then some other preservation and roundabout project up on 57th are kind of the highlights for next year. Next slide. So now we'll get into a little more detail on some of the projects. This is Bigelow Phase 2. You can see it's on the west end connecting into our Bigelow Phase 1 project, very near the city limits down at Francis. And then on the east end, it ties in at Wiley and the current Bigelow Gulch project. And you can see we're straightening out a lot of curves and fixing a lot of elevation changes through there. It'll be a very welcome change, make that corridor much quicker and safer for people to be traveling. Next slide. This is the breakout of the funding and also our anticipated schedule for the project. You can see that we have funding from a bunch of different sources on this. And the one thing I'd like to point out is we only have 1.1 million of county dollars out of a total project cost of 15 million. And this is what Kyle was talking about. We had a lot of right-of-way costs and a lot of other costs associated with this project. So it's a pretty good sized project. Construction's pretty good size too. So the schedule down below, you can see we're trying to get out our documents and go to bid in early January. with an anticipated construction start in the spring. And then we'd like to have it open to traffic in 2024 is the goal.
And I'll just, while we're talking about that project real quick, I just wanted to add a few details to that. We are going to have that out early to go next year, but we're still doing a big analysis on the sequence of work and the total allotment of days for that project, trying to consider all of there's a lot of impacts beyond just building the roadway to the neighborhood down there and the wetlands restoration and reconstruction. So looking at exactly when we shut down the current portion of road to begin that reconstruction is something we're looking at. There's so much other work to be done. We're just trying to minimize the total duration that road is out of service, because 2 years is a long time to have that completely off, which would then drive a lot of traffic to some of the neighboring north-south streets. So it's possible we don't even hit the major realignment until 24 and do all of the ancillary work in 23 so that we're ready to rock and just build and have it only shut down for one season. Still not done with that analysis yet, but it's a big project. It'd be a tough one to do in our construction season with the amount of just full-blown, building we have to do to get everything up to the elevation of the roadway. So we'll come back when we have a little bit more on that, just so you have an update on what to expect, but something we're doing internally here right now.
Yeah, there's a lot of offline work that can be done on that project without actually closing the existing deck load to traffic. And obviously that's in everybody's best interest to minimize the amount of inconvenience. So we'll see, more to come on that. All right, next slide, please. 57th Avenue, I think most of you know we did the western portion of it last year. This coming year, we hope to finish out all the way down to Glenrose, including the roundabout. We'd like to time those that we can do the inconvenience to the traveling public all at once. You can see there the TIV portion of it and the county portion. We're about 20% of that project in terms of construction dollars. And again, that's a spring ad, and then also hoping to have that open to traffic by fall if possible. Next slide. And this is just the roundabout I was alluding to. And again, you can see that the construction schedule matches up with the 57th Avenue preservation project. Again, just trying to get it all done at once so we don't have to inconvenience people more than we are already going to be doing. And on the dollars, you can see that's a CMAQ grant, air quality grant that we got. And you can see that we were 40% in that one, so a little more than usual, but it's a good project. We're excited about it. There is a right-of-way that's ongoing right now. The only property we needed to acquire was at the northeast corner there from a church, and we've been meeting with their board and having conversations with them. So hoping to get that right-of-way soon, since there's only one owner that we have to talk to. But more to come. We actually own the southeast corner, and then we're staying off the western parcels by moving the roundabout to the east a little bit. Next slide.
So is it just stop signs for the north-south traffic then?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. It's a through movement for east-west and stopped north-south, and the volumes are growing. And with different activities and attractions, the aquatic park to the south on Freya, we're getting a lot more pedestrian activity and a lot more just general traffic on Freya. And this will also kind of marry up well with the city's project. They're putting a roundabout also where they have a grant, and I'm not sure if they've acquired it yet, but up at Blues Highway in Freya. So this will all kind of make that area come together nicely and be a much better improvement for traffic overall.
So where's their roundabout?
Just north of here at where Palouse Highway coming through at an angle intersects Freya. Yeah, they've got a roundabout proposed for that, and I know they were putting in for grants, and I haven't heard if they've been successful or not.
And then how, just with Mullen Road or Moran Ferry, just down the street, for safety for kids, are they gonna have to do crossing guards there?
Yeah, you can see the pedestrian movements are pushed to the outside of the roundabout, as they always are. And I don't know if they currently have crossing guards at these intersections or not, but that'll be a conversation we'll want to have with the school and just make them aware of the change so they can plan accordingly.
Yeah, because that would be my only concern with not having to stop,
Yeah.
For kids crossing.
Yeah, and these pedestrians tend to like roundabouts better because they get further away from the traffic. But also it is one of those things that we want an awareness on, and we'll talk to the school. They may want to extend crossing guards down to here. That wouldn't surprise me a bit. Okay, next slide, please. This is our Lincoln Road project from Crestline to Market. If you've been out there, you can see in the picture on the bottom right, it's in really tough shape and it's very narrow and rural feeling. And this is going to be an urbanizing improvement. You can see our cross section on the bottom left there. We're going to add curbing and a separated pathway. It'll be a really good improvement. We are pretty limited on right-of-way. We're making it fit within the existing right-of-way for the most part. Be a really good improvement for the neighborhood though. You can see the funding on the top right is primarily TIB. They were about half of it. This was an interesting one. We were the end of the money on this one, and they asked us if we'd be willing to put in more than our typical share. We typically are 20 to 30% on TIB, and we put in a little more than half on this one. You can see because it was a take it or leave it type project, and we wanted it done. So we really need to do something with Lincoln anyway. We were going to be out there doing preservation work, so why not get the improvement for roughly the same dollars on our end? So we're happy to get that one. Next slide. And Columbia Drive. We're calling this Project 1. It's actually the second project. If you're familiar with Columbia, it goes through the Northwood neighborhood. We had built the eastern portion from Argonne over to Northwood, and now we're going to be doing the other portion of it from Northwood back to where the new neighborhood took off. I'm not sure what street we'd call that exactly. You can see it, it's a red line on the map there. And again, I'm going to get this out in the spring and hoping to have it built next year. There are some kind of mild traffic calming improvements we're making, similar to the previous phase. Some curved islands you can see in the cross section below there. They just occur at a few locations, trying to slow traffic down. We've heard from the neighborhood up there that people tend to really move through. It's a very wide roadway now. We put in striping and that helps, but I think the channelization will also serve to slow folks down a little bit. Kind of an interesting thing. We've heard from people that the really rough road conditions that exist do help calm traffic. So they're concerned that when we repave it, people are going to drive even faster. And I don't actually doubt that. I mean, we see that. So hopefully with the improvements, we'll kind of offset the new asphalt effect of people driving quickly. And that'll be a good improvement for the neighborhood in there. And that'll complete all the asphalt clear from Thurman all the way to Argonne. So it'll be a pretty good roadway at that point for us. And that's all county dollars. This was actually shift money that we got from the board. So we're excited to do that project. That'll be a really good one that never fared very well in the grants world, is because of the classification of road and the overall traffic doesn't compare to our larger arterials, but still a really good project. Happy to have it. Next slide. We did get some money. You can see a 92% grant from Safe Routes to School for Otis Orchards. This is a crossing project. This is right by a school, and you can see we're adding flashing beacons, narrowing the crossing by doing some bulb outs. And we'll also have this one going out next year, and obviously want it open before school starts. Next slide. This is just a diagram showing what they're proposing. You can see along the north side of Wellesley there, we're doing the pathway, and then you can see the bulb outs at the intersection there in front of the school with the new crossings and the beacons. Next slide. Euclid Road Bridge. I think we've all heard plenty about this one. We're really happy to have it underway and like it going as soon as possible. We've been leaning on the railroad as much as you can lean on a railroad, and hope to be underway soon. We've been getting favorable comments back, so that's one we'll keep pushing on and hoping to have it done fall 2023 and open to traffic. As you can see, we're anticipating maybe having around $1 million in county money in there, depending on how construction goes. And then we have the 2.6 from Burlington. Next slide. Brooks Road. This is a reconstruction project for us. You can see we got the STP money in there for roughly half of it, wrapped for roughly a quarter, and then about only 15% county dollars. And if you're familiar with Brooks Road, it's a really good connection from Highway 2 down to Medical Lake. And we have 2 phases of this. They're due to funding, they're going at different times, but we're going to build this southern portion this next year and have it open in the fall. So that'll be a really good project. It's a very narrow rural road and really need of something being done. And so the preservation work along with the widening work will be a really big improvement. It'll open it up for other folks too that want to use it for walking and biking. I could see there might be that need if there were actually the facilities available to people. Next slide. Little Spokane Drive Bridge. If you're familiar with Little Spokane up there, this is the piece going out to Woolard, and it's due. This is federally funded. You can see 72% federal contribution on that. And again, we're hoping to have this open by the end of construction season next year. And the only challenge with this one really is the detour route is relatively significant and could also conflict with what WashDOT has going on. They're doing some intersection safety improvements too, so we're coordinating closely with them to try and minimize the inconvenience to the public. See if there's any opportunity for timing ours. We don't know that there is. Ours, we have certain windows we have to work in, so we're somewhat restricted, but at least explore the opportunity and see if we can. Next slide. And as we discussed, this is our West Terrace Stormwater project. This one, phase one of it, which is putting in the big main from Hayford and Arrow and moving it south to get down towards the neighborhood that we're trying to pick up. That's going to be underway starting next week, and we'll see how far they get. If it keeps being summer forever, they'll probably get quite a ways. Winter actually shows up, then they will have to shut down for the winter, but at least we'll start making some headway on that and breaking ground on it. And that'll be a really good improvement. That the line we're putting in has capacity that's anticipated not just for what's going on now, but also to facilitate future growth in the area. We all know in this area, the only real solution is to get the water out of the area and find some place to dispose of it, and this will facilitate that work. So we're happy to have this project and paid for primarily by ARP funding, so we're very appreciative of that. We do not have another funding source for stormwater projects like that. We can always find money for water quality improvements, typically through ecology, but not so much for conveyance projects like this one is. So it was really, really good for us. We really appreciate that money. Next slide. So that was primarily obviously focused on next year's program, the 2023 improvements. And we also obviously have the 6-year plan. If you have an opportunity to look at it, I'd encourage you to do so. We have a lot of really good projects programmed going forward. We are taking a look also at other potential corridor projects with Bigelow kind of getting to the end. We're just looking broadly at the area and seeing if there's other corridor type projects that might be of interest. We don't know that there is. Some of them are, as you know, our area has a lot of topographical challenges. You cross giant ravines, you go up and down mountains, you have wetlands, you have rivers. So other corridors like a northwest connector, for example, there's a lot of challenges, but we are going to at least take a look and see if there's something that we want to pursue. If we decide that there's something worth looking at, we'll bring it to the board and kind of get everybody's temperature on what they think might be worthwhile. The other thing we always bear in mind is, as you've seen, it's a big drain on the program for an extended period of time to attack those corridor projects. So it's always a good conversation to make sure that we're willing to commit to them for the long haul, because they can very easily be 10, 15-year projects for us and detract from our ability to do other work, similar to what we've seen with WashDOT and the NSC not being able to do some of the other work they might like to be attacking. So just want to go into it with our eyes open and make sure that there's support and that it's something we all want to pursue if there is one that makes sense. So more to come on that, just foreshadowing at this point. On the bullets there, you can see we include about 190 million worth of projects for those years. We usually average about 32 million a year. This will be a bigger year than usual, primarily due to Bigelow and some bridge projects. And again, for every dollar we get, we tend to get about $3.50 of other funding. And 2023 is fully secured, which is always something that we're shooting for by this time of year. Next slide. A little hard to see, but really just wanted to show the board that the geographical distribution by district of the projects, you can see they're kind of all over the map. This will be something we'll be looking at every year going forward, and I anticipate more interest in this going forward. But it's been a really good year. Our grants group, I just can't say enough good about them. They do a fantastic job of securing funds for us. That's Jamie Hayes and Barry Green, and they really are good at going out and finding the money and getting the grant applications all shined up, getting us the money that we need to do the work. So really appreciative to that team for their efforts. And I think that's it. Any questions for me on this? Well, thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Something that's gonna take us to Kirsten.
That's great response.
Got the chair warm.
That's always nice.
You wanna roll right into the next one?
You gotta jump there.
You only get so much time.
Matt and Kyle, you guys gotta check, you're already using the 5-district map on the.
It is the 2023 tip.
There you go.
So,
Already thinking ahead. Work.
it's funny, there's no dots in the middle. Okay, so this is the other half of Public Works here, primarily on our wastewater system. So Kristen here is gonna brief the 6-year CIP.
Sounds good. Good morning, everybody. Our 6-year sewer CIP covers the wastewater collection system, Riverside State Parks Treatment Facility, as well as our county water reclamation facility. So I'll briefly cover all 3 of those in this presentation. Next slide. Starting out, I wanted to give you just a brief overview of our wastewater collection system, and these 2 maps are in the CIP. One of them is the valley, the NBI and SVI basins, and the other is NSI basin, which is our north side. And on those maps, I just wanted to point out that starting with the valley, we have 2 major interceptors that run through the valley, the NBI on the north side and the SVI on the southern portion. Both of those collect throughout the valley and feed the Spokane County Regional Water Reclamation Facility, shown on the left there, SCRF. And the purple areas all feed the north interceptor, the green all feed the south interceptors. And of interest, everything shown in purple is served by sewer. Same with the green feeding the South Valley area. So we've really served the majority of the valley now with sewer. It's been ongoing projects that began in the late 1980s. And the boundary, the UGA is shown there, as well as the valley's municipal boundaries. And the majority of the areas are all sewered now, with the exception of the area up in the upper right in the purple there. That's the Barker Road area. We've been working on sewering that area over the last few years, and we have a number of upcoming projects in that area in the next few years. On the north side shown there, off on the right side within the red boundary, that's the Lamyard, is the Mead Mount Spokane area. We worked on sewering that over the last few years, and we have a few more projects planned there within the upcoming years. They're shown in blue on these maps. We also have in the lower portion of that, the north map, a project on Lincoln Road. Those are just kind of overviews of our system. We do see about 2 million gallons a day of flow from the north side of Spokane, another 2 million gallons a day from the North Valley Interceptor, and then about 4 million gallons a day from the South Valley Interceptor, just to give you an idea of the flows. Next slide. This is a summary from the CIP again of our wastewater system improvements. I'm going to touch on the projects that we have coming up in 23, 24, and 25 that are all highlighted as our first projects there in the CIP. But of interest, we have about $26 million of projects planned for the next 6 years covered in our CIP. That's both our capital improvement projects as well as our operation and maintenance projects associated with, for instance, like our pump stations. Next slide. These are projects in the valley. There are 3 upcoming projects in the Barker Road area, We will be coordinating all of them with the valley as they participate in the road portions of the projects and we do the sewer. This year we're doing, or in 2023, we're going to finish out a project on Barker Road. In 2024, we're doing a sewer project. It's a continuation of our STEP program, septic tank elimination projects, where we're replacing septic tanks in Donwood, both in north portion and south portion there, right adjacent to the river. And then further out in 2026, close to the new Amazon facility there, is a project we'll do on Flora to Shirley and Dalton to provide sewer to that area, which in essence will complete sewering the northeast industrial area, as the valley calls it. Now I'm going to give you a few more details in the following slides on these projects. This is the Barker Road project. We've completed phases 1 and 2, and this is phase 3. We're going to be boring under the Union Pacific Railroad with our sewer, putting in gravity sewer as well as a force main, running some additional sewer on Euclid Avenue. And the valley is going to be doing all of the road work associated with this project. Next slide. This is the north half of the Donwood Sewer project. You can see on the left there, it's a tight community subdivision, and there's approximately 90 parcels there. They're all on septic tanks right now. We're gonna go ahead and put sewer in this neighborhood and take them all off of septic tank. We are also pursuing CDBG grant funds to help with the connections to sewer in this area, as approximately 35–40% of them are low income. And when the project's complete and they're required to connect to sewer, they can go ahead and use these CDBG funds to help pay for their connection costs and their side sewer construction to complete the connection to sewer.
So I know we did that with the first phase, and how did that go?
It went really well. We teamed up with the valley, and the CDBG funds come from the valley. They secure those and then dedicate those towards our project. And it worked quite well. We had a good turnout from both paying. They have 2 different fees they cover. They cover the assessments that we charge to connect to our sewer system. And then they also cover their side sewer construction costs. And it works well. In fact, we're meeting with the CDBG board later this week to talk about it for this project.
And then have people started to connect on that project?
Yes, they have started to connect. We've had our connection deadline, and we've had about 25 people connect using those funds from the Barker Road Homes project. Yes. We're also considering a secondary funding source for that if the CDBG funds don't come through.
Was the infrastructure in the road, or did we have to dig up and lay pipes in the road?
We had to dig up and lay.
It was, okay.
Yeah,
Okay, because I know we've talked about this development and the sewer project for a couple of years.
Yeah, it has been in for a couple of years.
It's been in the works for a while, so.
It sure has. And
Okay.
like I say, we've had most of the sewer in the valley has gone in through this STEP program, septic tank elimination program. And this is our last major community to be taken off of the septic tanks and put in. Then the next slide is the south portion of this project. And you can see here that it is right alongside the river. And this is the other was the north half, this is the south half. There's another, I think, about 40 connections in this location. And we'll be doing this as a combined project. Next slide. This is the Lincoln Road project. You heard Matt talk about this earlier. This is a project where we're teaming up with our roads department. They got the funding to do the road work, so we're going to go ahead and put the sewer in at the same time. And in this particular project, the sewer is going to be dry sewer. So at this time, we don't have any facilities downstream of this that it can flow into. But since they're doing the paving right now, we're going to go ahead and put the sewer in place. And then it's in our long range plans to just continue working at getting the sewer in to complete the connections and allow it to be fed by live sewer.
If you recall from that first couple of maps that Kristen showed you, the valley, the Donwood and Flora projects are, we're down to the last couple of little sections of the valley. But this, you can see on that sub map up on the top right there, that's one of the larger remaining pieces in our entire sewer service area to be sewered. So, we have a long range plan to get through all that. This is one step to get there.
Yeah, thank you. That map, just to add, the green areas within the map in that upper right area are already sewered or covered, have sewer service extended to the parcels. The yellow in that map happens to be the city of Spokane. So this is the area that we're talking about is to the right of that, or in the tan colored area. We don't have sewer service in that area yet. And until we get sewer installed from essentially Lincoln Road all the way north to the Costco on the north side, all of those areas need to be sewered before this particular area will have live sewer.
So are the properties to the south of Lincoln not sewered either? The Morgan Acres?
That's correct.
It's not.
Correct.
Wow, I thought that would be.
Yeah,
That
it's
surprised
not.
me. It doesn't surprise me the north is not, with what's there along Market Bed. I would have thought Morgan Acres would have been on sewer.
You know what's surprising is that the flows want to flow north. So from Morgan Acres, everything wants to flow north all the way to essentially Costco on the north side, which is what makes it more difficult to sewer. If it wanted to flow south, then there's a lot more options of sewer currently available. Okay, next slide. This is a project on the north side. We're anticipating construction in 2025. On the right-hand side of this picture shows the green sewer lines are the existing lines that were installed with the Mead Mount Spokane sewer projects over the last few years. And on the left side of the map, everything in green there, it's shown along Highway 2, and I've pulled out Lane Park Road just for reference. Everything green is sewered or has sewer available to it. The Lane Park Sewer Project, as we're calling it, are the 4 blue areas that are highlighted on that map. And on the right side there, I've shown a number of streets that coincide with those blue areas. I think it's Sycamore, Unicorn, Anna, an additional area on Lane Park. And then off to the right there, we have Nancy, Cuba, and Yale. We're going to go ahead with this Lane Park Sewer Project and put sewer in those cross streets. And at that time, you can see, looking at the map on the left where everything's green, these blue projects will complete sewer to the entire area. And at that time, we will. Right now, sewer is available to that area, but once this project is complete, we will require connection to the system here. So this is another example where once we require connection to the system, we do like to have low-income funds available for those that need assistance connecting to sewer. Okay, next slide. Now, that was the end of our kind of capital improvement projects. This is some of our wastewater operations projects and some of the in this case, it's showing a pump station project that we have coming up. Every year we do allocate funds to do work and to improve the reliability and electrical components of all of our pump stations. We have 34 pump stations in the county system, and this is the Dartford pump station. This is the project that will be getting some work this year. Next slide. Now we're moving on to the Riverside State Park Water Reclamation Facility. The county does own 10 million gallons a day of treatment capacity from the Riverside State Park. And every year we pay the city a prorated portion of our share of costs to send our flows to this facility. The fees are estimated at approximately $500,000 per year. They were larger in the past because we were helping pay for the membrane upgrades that were done, but those projects are now complete. Next slide. This is a shot of our Spokane County Regional Water Reclamation Facility, or SCRF, as we call it. This facility is operated by Jacobs Engineering Group, but we do have a number of projects that we do, little projects throughout the year, just to keep the facility current. Sometimes we work on our education center. This year we have a pedestrian access gate planned right at the entrance to the facility, as well as improving the effluent sampling port from the facility. Next slide. I bet you all know where this is. This is a shot of Saltese Flats. That project was completed last year, and we do have some additional restoration work forecasted for 2024. There'll be a little design work done in 2023, and then continuation of some of the restoration in 24. And then the last slide is a shot of the Doris Morrison Learning Center. It's currently under construction and forecasted to be complete in April of 2023. This is the funding associated with completing that construction. And this also concludes the presentation. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. All right. Well, thank you. And I appreciate the opportunity to share this with you.
Thank you. You've really made some progress on the Doris Morrison Learning Center from when we were out there.
Yeah, doesn't that look nice?
Coming together.
Hoping it's
Yeah.
spring.
It really is. It's great that it's there right on the Central Valley campus as well. Yeah.
All
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Have a nice day.
You too.
Is yours miscellaneous, or are you doing that?
Something miscellaneous.
Okay. We're a little early, but we'll go ahead and move on.
Everyone's got it today.
Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you for the opportunity to share with you what is going on with ARP. We closed, as you know, the affordable housing on September 28th, and the selection committee reviewed that and is in their final stages of compilations. This particular category, we're doing kind of an additional review because there's other funding sources that are in that affordable housing arena, and we want to make sure our recommendation comes graded with those funding sources as well. So we will be doing that work this week, confirming that, and then depending on where that lands, putting it on an upcoming consent agenda. That will determine, there's 2.4 million in that category right now, and there may need to be a small amount added, or depending on how some of these funding sources play out, there may not need to be any. So we're trying to
4.5. Your
Excuse
mind
me.
went to public health.
I'm sorry, 4.5, my bad, thank you, Jeff. So just even in those firms that we have initially tagged for recommendations, there's over 230 new units, and that could be exponentially more as we work with grants in rental assistant options, some other funding sources like ARP Home that's still in their open comment period that ends next week. So we really want to braid this well. So that is why we don't have the initial recommendation to you this week, but it will be next week. Any questions on that before next week? Okay. Friday, we had 3 RFPs close. One was community violence interventions for $5 million, aid to tourism and travel and hospitality for $2 million, and economic impact assistance other for $5 million. Those will be scored this week, and depending on how that reviews out, come for recommendations for you in the week ahead. There were 2 that actually opened on Friday, and those were for water and sewer infrastructure, categories 1.5 through, categories 5.1 through 5.18. So that's the first time we've done an RFP for a range of categories. And that had a total of 10 million allocated to it. And the other RFP that released was for strong and healthy communities, neighborhood features. And that was for 12 million. So those are our last two formal RFPs, those released on Friday. The one thing that will be coming to you that's a little outside of ARP but associated is one of the firms, Adult Teen Challenge from the nonprofit RFP, was recommended as a better fit from within the mental health 110 for $300,000. Very much mental health, behavioral health allocations. And so they have actually completed the direct allocation packet along with that, and it was sent to Gary, who's reviewing that in the budget office, so that will be on an upcoming consent as well. So once again, another kind of direction that was a little bit better fitted. So again, we're going to be working with Kat and Kathleen on the close of the ARP home and any community feedback. And once that's submitted to HUD, that will then determine how we may have firms eligible for that funding, either in addition to or in lieu of a US Treasury housing allocation. So lots of, weaving, but we wanted to make sure you're aware of all of those.
So what is the timing on the ARP home? With that application going to HUD?
It closes, it's an open public comment right now, which closes on the 18th. And so the board will be briefed, I think 18th is a Monday or Tuesday, isn't it?
And you'll be briefed that day.
So you'll be briefed the day it closed, and then as long as you guys are good with that, it would go to HUD. And then we have to hear back from HUD that the plan meets all of their requirements. So we actually can't start spending the money on specific projects till we hear back from HUD that the plan has met all of their requirements. So you're probably at least a month out from the October 18 date. And then with Thanksgiving, I would say it will either be right before or right after Thanksgiving.
And we need to wait for HUD to make their determination to know whether we can take those funds out of ARP or
Right, so that's gonna be part of our discussions this week on timelines, what could possibly fit under ARP home, and at what cadence you wanna move.
We think we've come up with a way as a selection committee to allow us to proceed with a recommendation without a fixed commitment from the US Treasury Fund. So I think we've been able to work within the unknowns of HUD response timelines without stopping too much. So that'll be something we'll be briefing you on before we have that formal recommendation for proceeding. But yeah, Jeff had a great thought on that. Kat, do you have anything else related to the ARP home review, knowing that that's your vertical that we're briefing that next week? So that's kind of one of those things. It really will depend how quickly HUD gets back to us on how well we can pivot one way or the other. But we wanted it to be flexible so we don't have to stop and wait.
Sorry, Arian, I did not have anything to add. Thank you.
Okay, sorry, Kat.
No worries, no worries.
And then we do have another quarterly US Treasury report. It's not our annual report, but it's basically what we have expended and allocated to date. So this is actually the first time we're actually reporting something's happened. Everything else has been to date. We've sent out checks not only to CLA for our portal subscription, but we've also done 2 payments to Whitworth Water. So they are well over halfway through their award, and then we will be officially noting what we are claiming for our revenue replacement and indirects. So a little bit more substance in our treasury report this year. So for this quarter. Anything else, Jeff?
Well, if I can add, in the RFPs that closed on Friday, how many applicants were there? Is it a large amount
It was-
larger than average, but not like nonprofit.
Okay, yeah, that's what I mean,
Yeah, it
some of
wasn't-
them, it's like we get like 5, and then nonprofits, we
More
go,
like the 10 to 15
okay.
per category.
okay.
Just on the quick look I've seen, Arian
Okay.
can tell you about it.
And a number of the nonprofits realized they were better fitted for some of these more specific. So we did see a few that just didn't score well in the general net of nonprofit realize, oh, I think I'm more in the community violence intervention niche or the tourism hospitality niche or the impacted. So we're seeing a few revisits.
Quite a few, actually.
Yeah, quite a few. But some of that was on purpose, and so I think the scoring will go well, but it's really landing nicely, so.
Sounds good.
So then that takes us to Scott.
Do you want to cover, I think we have one miscellaneous item, and we do have two that I'm aware of executive session items.
Okay, the miscellaneous, you have a letter in your packet. It's from the city of Airway Heights. You'll see the Airway Heights logo up in the corner. It's right top of your file there. The city of Airway Heights requested through Commissioner French, being it's his district, and with him being at a conference right now, asking me to brief it. They have put together this letter. It's a letter to legislators. It's a capital funding request to the state legislature. There's a PowerPoint that goes with it, photos of their current police, fire, and municipal buildings, which are all separate buildings to date. And they are looking to build a new structure, which would be a public safety campus. They're asking for $1.3 million in the 2023 state capital budget. They have requests along to Spokane County that are actually asking for your signature. They're asking for use of the county logo. They will be affixing the logos of the entities who support it. So there actually is a resolution, if you so choose, that you can move that just says you're giving permission. They've requested logo usage also from the Airway Heights Fire Department, the volunteer firefighters, the police department, and the Public Safety Guild. So those are all out of Airway Heights. From the Washington State Council of County and City Employees Local, the West Plains Chamber, the West Plains Public Safety Partnership, both the Spokane and Kalispell Tribes of Indians, Fairchild, Fire District 10, Cleone's Closet Food Pantry, if I'm saying that right, and the Washington State Department of Corrections. So including Spokane, they've requested 14 entities to sign on. I did not receive the information back yet on which of those groups have said yes or no. But this is Mike Burgess brought forward this request. Commissioner French was supportive of the county providing this support to Airway Heights. So the resolution's in front of you if you're so inclined. Is it on the consent agenda? It's on the consent agenda tomorrow if you're so inclined. So yes, I'm just briefing today, no action. It's Monday and slow start to the weekend. I think it's just for executive session.
Okay, and then we have two exec session items under pending and potential. And one of them is involving the a Superior Court action, Wolf v. Spokane County. That is going to include the two commissioners, our chief civil, Mark McLean, Matt Koza, who will be briefing the item, as well as our senior leadership team. And that will be, I would say, 15 minutes.
Anticipate action.
We may. The second one is also under pending and potential litigation. The same individuals, except not Matt Koza, rather we would have Dale Anderson and Casey Evans. And that I also anticipate to be 15 minutes. And I, no action.
So we'll take the first item, since there's no action.
Yep, that's good.
The second one you talked about.
Second, we'll do the second item first.
Yes, we'll do that first, and then the one with Marcos will be second.
Okay.
Okay, so we anticipate 30 minutes total. And we'll come back out. So it's 9:52. It'll take us just a couple minutes, so we'll say we're in executive session at 9:55 for 30 minutes, which will take us to 9:10. Thank you. We'll go into executive session for the purposes just stated, and we will return at 10:25. We've come out of executive session a few minutes early, 4 minutes early. It's 10:21. We were expected at 10:25. No action is being taken. And so we will go ahead and conclude our meeting for this morning. And then we will reconvene this afternoon for our working session at 2 o'clock to discuss our budget topics. So thank you all very much.